Hey, welcome to my journal entries series. Ava, I'm a 17-year-old struggling with OCD, autism, depression, anxiety, and anorexia nervosa. I'm currently in recovery and I thought I would start this YouTube channel to use it as like a journal entry series and like a diary to kind of be open and honest about my experiences and about mental health and how it has affected me and still continues to affect me to this day. So today's journal entry is an open discussion about depression and how it affects my daily life. I think there are many misconceptions about depression and how it manifests itself in people, specifically young people like teenagers. I have suffered with low mood for as long as I can remember, to be honest. I don't really, as like extreme as it sounds, I don't really remember being happy, like just happy in myself. COVID hit me especially hard and perpetuated all the anxiety and sadness. Just a disclaimer, I'm currently on fluoxetine, which is an antidepressant that increases the serotonin levels in your brain rather than combating the negative hormones and emotions. So some antidepressants, which aren't as commonly used nowadays or with adolescents, do work by combating the negative hormones, but this antidepressant fluoxetine works by increasing the positive ones to kind of balance it out, because depression scientifically is an imbalance of the hormones. I'm not coming at this from a scientific perspective, by the way, or point of view. I don't know anything like from a scientific point of view. I'm not down with that. I'm not a professional in any way whatsoever, and I'm not like even educated to speak about this. The only way I'm educated for this is through my personal experience of it, and that's all that this episode is about. It is just about how depression affects me. Selfish, but it's not about, you know, how depression works or what depression is. So I do not know all the scientific notions of depression. I am just speaking from personal experience. I'm on the antidepressants for about 4 months now, and I can't say it fixes it all or anything really. I knew it wouldn't. The fact of the matter and the truth is that I'm still depressed and I still feel it every day. The only difference is some days I feel it less than I did the day before, and some days it's more manageable, which is sometimes all you need for a bit, and sometimes that's the best. I've come to accept that maybe that is the closest I will get to being fixed, to being free of this depression, at least for a while. It is scientific that depression comes and goes, emotions ebb and flow. There might be stages in which I'm free from this and some where it's far worse, and none of that can be predicted. It's just the truth about depression, the scientific truth, but this is mine. As I've said before, this series is about me exploring my personal experiences and struggles. This is not a study, this is a journal. This is my life and how it has been and is still to this day affected by depression and its symptoms. I still wake up in a low mood most days, tired mentally and physically. Some days I can't get out of bed, some I cannot shower, sometimes for a week. As gross as that sounds, I'm so sorry to admit that, but part of depression is that I struggle to get up and take care of myself in ways that are so easy to people who don't suffer with depression, to people who can just get up and shower every morning. I can't do that, and as horrible as dirty as that sounds, it's not. It's just a symptom of it that I just struggle to do such simple tasks that are taking care of myself because of the depression. Some days I'm sad and I don't know why. Sometimes there is no reason why. For the longest time I struggled so immensely with this idea that I didn't know what was wrong. Sometimes nothing was, and that frustrated me even more. There were people who had real problems in the world, and here I was sad for no reason, and I felt really selfish for that. I didn't know until recently that it's normal and it's okay, and in some cases, mine included, it's depression. I wasn't selfish, I was depressed. There's a big difference. but something I came to learn people see as the same. I want to start off by saying this: it was no choice of mine. These feelings, I had no choice. I did not choose to be depressed. I did not choose to be this way, but I am. And that's okay. Something people always assume about depression is that it makes you lazy. It makes you useless and you are never anything but sad. The truth is, some days I am happy. Sometimes I can't stop smiling. I laugh with my sisters and my family. I leave the house. I speak to people. But I'm still no less depressed. I am still depressed. Depression is not a constant state of sadness for me. There is this constant sadness that lives within me that I am horribly aware of, that at times eats me out and I become it, and I am in a constant state of sadness. If I'm happy or seem it, one day it is still there. I am just better at hiding it or strong enough to see outside of that darkness and let a little crack of light in. But it's still there. The sadness still exists. And no external force ever changes that. It's an internal sadness. And so when people ask, why are you sad, or what's the cause, it's never an external thing. Even if it is, it's something externally has triggered the internal thing. It's all internal, this depression. It's nothing made me depressed except for how it felt inside. For so long, I was so obsessed with never letting myself be happy, out of fear that people would immediately brush off my depression and assume it was gone, or assume that it had passed, when really I still felt it swallow me in this eternal cyclical wave of despair. For the first few years of depression, I probably fit the stereotypes to a T. Even now, a bit probably. I usually wear full black outfits, my black nails, my black hair. I suppose I fit the emo sad girl aesthetic. Sorry, my rabbit is making noise. And also, I am wearing Ethel Cain merch, so I feel like I do fit the sad girl aesthetic, but that's okay. But back then, I didn't leave the house, not even my room. I didn't speak to anyone, not even my family. I had very few friends, and I never let them know anything about myself or had fun with them or saw them other than at school in the off chance that I was in. There will be a whole nother episode about my school and how little I went and why. I had my headphones in at all times, on my phone, lost in another world. The horrifying realm inside my head was the other world I was in, not some nice fairy world. I didn't go to school, I didn't do work, I didn't do anything. I barely even existed, because even that was far too much for me. The biggest truth about depression is what seems so normal and so easy to someone who does not suffer with depression, so soon impossible to those who do. Leaving your room or your house might seem easy, but to me, I stay trapped inside of my body and my mind, in these self-destructive patterns in which I could hurt myself so horribly and so much before anyone else could hurt me, so that I never could be hurt again, or by anyone but me. In hindsight, whilst there is the slightest bit of flawed logic in that, it's overall a very unhealthy way to go about life. But I was young, I was 12, and the only way I knew to protect myself from the world I feared so greatly was to destroy myself before it could, to hurt myself before it could, as physically and as mentally as I could. I also will be doing a full episode about self-harm, because I did really struggle with that, and I still do. I will talk more about that in a full episode, so yeah. Depression isn't a choice as much as some of the situations leading up to it may be. I sometimes wonder which came first, my depression or my self-harm. Was it my self-harm that made me depressed, or was it my depression that made me self-harm? I think it was the latter, as I think I always had this sense of depression lost inside of me, waiting to rear its ugly head at the worst time it could. But what I mean about depression not being a conscious choice, I suppose, is that obviously there are many elements in which a person can be predisposed to that. That can be biologically through genes. For example, I was genetically predisposed to mental health illnesses and depression. However, my sisters, who have pretty much the same genes as me, are not at the same level as me. So it's not just that, but that is a factor of it. To people looking in at those who suffer with depression, they might see it as a choice, and I resent this misconception so much. I understand the struggle to understand mental health if you've never really experienced it personally or even secondhand by seeing someone struggle. It's one of those things that truly you cannot understand without experiencing it or having a personal understanding of it. Someone looking at my story might see the choices I made to cut myself, to try to kill myself, to starve myself, to sit in the pain and give in and think that I chose this. They might see that those are all active choices I have made that have led me to feel this way. But what they don't see is I had no choice. I felt this way before I made those choices, and I made those choices because I felt this way. When you have nothing, when you feel nothing but pain, and suddenly you find something that works, you hold on to it. I held on to those things because they were all I had. I suppose you can blame me for those decisions. I have spent so long deconstructing how easily I can blame myself for what is not my fault. It's not exactly that I think you can't blame someone for decisions made in hard times. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that everyone's like off the hook for any decision they make in challenging times, but I was not in a state to make any choices for myself. And any that I made were with the intention to destroy myself and my life. So when you look at these self-destructive choices I was making, it's not a coincidence. I was making them because I wanted to hurt myself. That was the point of them. Depression does that to people. It makes you want an escape, because when every single day of your life is constant torture and your mind is a dangerous place in which you sit 24/7, there's no escape from it. You can't escape from your mind. You are with yourself every second. When your head is like constantly living in an active war zone, when you are both the soldier and the enemy, you suddenly wouldn't mind the bullet finding your chest. I dreamt about ways out because I had hope, but not in the way people tell you to. I had hope that it would end the depression and with it my life. I saw myself as attached to these feelings, and I saw that that if I wanted them gone, I had to leave too. I was one and the same with these feelings. So if I wanted one to die, the other had to as well. I defined myself through these emotions and let them become me so much that when I wanted to kill them off, it manifested as though I wanted to kill myself. The truth is, I don't think I did. At least I didn't want to kill myself to end my life to that full extent. I just wanted to end my life as it was. I wanted to start a new one, to start again, to start over. I wanted to feel nice. I wanted to kill off these emotions that I had, and they were attached with my life. These emotions came with my life every day. There was no escape from them. The only escape from them was escaping from my life. I still think it's sad that the only way I saw as being free from these emotions I had about life and that came with life was also being free from life. I wanted to live, just not feeling like this. I had related life to feeling like this, in which I hated feeling like this, and therefore I hated life. I didn't actually hate my life. I had a very good life. I still do. I've got a really nice family, a lovely house. I have a nice life, and I didn't want to take that. But these emotions came with that life, and I came with that life, and those two things I hated. So I wanted to rid of them, and the only way I could was ridding of life. I hated feeling like this, and therefore I hated life. Displacing this anger and hate onto something that needed hope and nourishment. There is no logic in my depression, no reason or sense to my thinkings and feelings, and there is no reason how I feel sad. I am sad. I still feel it. I spent so long trying to compare myself to people who don't suffer from depression, to people who seem to live everyday life and enjoy it, or at least get through it with some level of ease. I suppose the same way those people do not understand how I can't get through life easily, how I make such a big deal out of what they do naturally. I don't understand how they do it so easily, or at least how it looks like they do it so easily. I'm aware that everyone has their issues and You might think that they're okay, but they might not be. But I still don't understand how someone can wake up in the morning and get themselves to school, to college, to work, or whatever it is that they do. How can they get through the day without crying, without hurting themselves, without being engulfed by this thrashing wave of sadness that sways in cycles within us? How do people live? How do people just exist? How can you get through a day without wanting to kill yourself? How do you get through a day without trying to? How do you stay alive? How are you happy to stay alive? How are you grateful to be alive? I never understood any of it. And I still don't understand how some people enjoy life and live it so well, and others like me exist in the same world and yet we live in the shadows of their light. One cannot exist without the other, but why do I shy from the sun? Why do I live in the dark? I don't think I'm a victim by any means, and I'm not saying that those people don't deserve to enjoy life, because of course they do. I just want everyone to enjoy life. In fact, I've always thought the opposite of me being a victim. Most of my situations surrounding mental health were punishments, self-inflicted. My self-harm and eating disorder were direct ways of actively punishing myself for simply existing. They were these ways in which I believed I could almost bully myself in the place where others didn't, where they didn't step into. I believed I deserved the pain. I wanted it because I genuinely believed that was what my purpose was. Nothing but a punishment. To feel bad and be punished as if I had sinned in a past life and this life was nothing but a punishment for those mistakes. Post-depression gives you a strange way of viewing the world. I am by no means an optimist. I'm about as pessimistic as they come, and I find darkness in spaces where the light should be let in. The world is a scary place as it is, but for those of us with depression, it is about 1,000 times scarier. Even to just be outside is a horrible, frightening experience. What if people see me? If people see that I'm alive, that means I am. It proves it. It makes me real. I don't want to be. I want to disappear. I want to be invisible. I can't tell you how many times I've wished for the power of invisibility. How many times I wished I could make myself smaller, to fade into the background, to disappear, to turn invisible, to not be seen. The worst thing for me was being seen. I am still so afraid of being seen. I will be doing a deeper dive into that in an upcoming episode, so I won't go too into that now, but I'm aware that it is a great fear of mine. I remember so many times where I was crying to my mum and saying to her that I wanted to go to sleep and never wake up again, to do anything to myself, but I wanted the universe to do it for me. I wanted to sink into my mattress and become it, to lose all human identity and to fade into a fine dust, slowly dissipate with the wind, blowing through the air I was once scared to breathe. I wanted to disappear. I told her I wanted to evaporate, to fade, to slowly lose myself, and all I wanted was to disappear. I envied the dead for the peace of mind and the calmness of a body. The truth is, I almost did have a calm body. You see, depression isn't exactly a manic thing in my personal experience of it. It's not this loud noise within me, though I have many of those. But it's this great hole that eats you out slowly until there is nothing but bone, nothing left of you that could be seen as being alive, until you are nothing. That is kind of the point of it. It's this way of killing yourself slowly without actually doing it. There is this great void that I became, a great pit in my stomach which hurt. It physically hurt because I was sad all the time and I had no explanation for it. But it is calming in a strange way. It is one emotion only, and always sadness. There is a strange comfort in it, in the predictability that each day will be the same, long and tiring, and I will only ever feel sad and empty. For the longest time, empty was the only word I had to describe myself, because I felt like I had lost so much of myself, and my body had been replaced by a lump of sadness, with bones of despair, muscle of low mood, and flesh of fatigue. I had been replaced by this depression. The biggest frustration I found in the depths of depression, before I even knew it was depression, when it had no name to me, when I couldn't explain it, was that no one understood. No one saw me. I didn't even understand myself. I didn't understand what the problem was, why I felt the way I did, or even what it was that I felt. I didn't understand anything about myself, and that angered me greatly. I think in society, we're taught that the immediate answer to someone saying they don't feel good or that they are sad is why. Why? What a word. I lost myself in depression, and still 5 years later, I do not know who I am underneath this hole. I do not know my true self. I do not know if my true self sits inside of it, and if so, I do not know how to extract her. Maybe I never will. Maybe I will be empty forever and never be whole. But I will not let depression rule me. I will not let it own me nor become my identity, as it has before. I am more than this, and though depression is a part of me, it is not my whole. I am whole this way. I'm figuring out how to fill in the parts of myself that depression took from me, as it continues to do so each day. Each day is a fight, and though I know you can win the battle but never the war, I will not lie on this battlefield. These bullets are not as strong as my skin, and I am stronger than I know. Depression is a killer, but I will not be its victim. We are warriors, and though our fight is endless, so is our strength, so is our power. I'm proud of you, and I believe in you. I hope we both find a way, as Ethel Cain says, to fight the waves, embrace the pain, and find a way to enjoy being alive. Even if it starts as a single day each month that we feel happy for a moment. Life is a never-ending roller coaster, and sometimes you just have to cheer to make it more fun. Happiness exists, and sometimes you just have to create it. And I'm not opposed to raising my hands occasionally and letting myself smile on the ride of life. You're allowed to be happy. And you're allowed to not be some days. That's human and that's normal. Depression does not define us. It is a part of us that we have to acknowledge, but there are so many parts of us and we have to leave enough room for the whole of us to live. Remember, the best is yet to come. I hope you enjoyed and thank you for watching. I will be doing many more episodes on this journal series, this journal entry series, specifically ones I've talked about today. I'll be talking about self-harm, about anorexia, about my fear of being seen, and I'll also probably come back to depression and maybe do a part 2 on this because I feel like I have a lot more to say. And I won't shut up if I keep going. So I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, thank you, love you, bye. The best is yet to come.